Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Michelle Hayward. And per usual, I always bring y'all treats. Like, Michelle, really? Yes, really. With me today, I have Lisa Anderson. Lisa is an executive. She's also an executive coach, helping women in the workplace show up, show out, and really drive their careers in the direction they want to go. And so Lisa is back. I don't know, Lisa, you've done what, three summits for me? I don't even know.
Yes, at least three.
At least if maybe this is the third one, and then you done a webinar or two with me. We've done a podcast episode. If y'all don't know Lisa Anderson, trust me, you are going to love her. When I continue to bring people back, it's for a few reasons. Number one, the positive hire community are enjoying what she says. They're finding actionable things from her. They're working with her to advance their careers, and I like them. And that's saying a lot. Y'all know us as engineers, scientists, analytical people. We're like, we don't like that many people like that, especially if they're not analytical like us. But I love working with you, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. And I have fun every time, every summit. I like to educate, but we also have a good time, and we have some very juicy, good discussions as well.
Exactly. Now this year we're talking about the from the glass ceiling to the glass cliff. But before we get into that, I want you to share with people a bit about yourself, your career,
Mhm.
and and then we'll get into what you do in your organization.
Sure. So I am a chief human resource officer, and I've been in HR for over 25 years. So now I'm starting to date myself a little bit. But I grew my career in HR. I started my career as a recruiter and worked my way up the ladder through, becoming an HR business partner. They were called HR generalists back in the day, but now the new term is HR business partner, HR manager, director, VP, and now I'm a chief HR officer. And every step that I took on that career ladder, I needed to get some different things in my toolkit. And so I just love working with women in particular that are looking to move to their next level, whatever or however that looks, and just making sure that they have what they need in their toolkit in order to be successful as they're climbing. And everybody's not always climbing up. I work with a lot of women that are going lateral, and they're individual contributors, but they're still becoming experts in their field. So that's me. And I am also a leadership coach for women. And I love to, help women find their voice, especially in male dominated environments, build their leadership courage, and increase their leadership and executive presence. So that's my passion work.
I love it. So Lisa's business is Positively in Pursuit. Let's talk about that name. Why did you name your company Positively in Pursuit?
Yes. So that name came to me years ago. You know how you get that download and it's like, came to me years ago when I decided that I really wanted to help people. Back then, it was really how to get jobs, how to interview, how to dress for success, the unwritten rules of the workplace. That's where I initially started my work. And so that name came to me because in everything that we do, if you have a positive attitude and a positive outlook, that's half the battle. And so that name came because I said, whatever you're in pursuit of, your dreams, your goals, your career, you want to be positively in pursuit of that. So that's where the name came from, and it stuck with me. And then when I started my coaching business, that name just, whoop, there it is. Came to you years before. You didn't know why it came to you, but all the stars aligned like, okay, that's the name I'm supposed to use.
I love it. I love it. We do visions start way earlier and calling start way earlier than we realize. Um,
Absolutely.
and we don't know how much I think it's like Atlas eventually holds up the world, but for years Atlas was building the body he needed to hold up the world. So you're often already doing the work, but you don't know really where it's going and where it's going to continue to go. So I love that. I love that story. One of the things that I think really resonates with the way you come into positive hire, because we're positive hire. She's positively in pursuit. Y'all get that, right? Y'all see? Because it was funny when I'm just an aside. My brand photographer, her business, she's been in business 32 years. And her business is called Positive Images because
Oh.
everything you would generally see of Black people in the news, whether it's in print or on TV
Mhm.
or here on radio, was negative. And she called her business Positive Images. Well, we met, and I'm trying to think of names. It didn't even dawn on me when I came on Positive Hire. And she pointed like, "Oh yeah, Positive Hire," and I was like, "Yeah, Positive Hire." She's like, "Yeah, Positive Image." I said, "Oh, I did." And she said, "Yeah, you did, but it sounds good, so I ain't hating on you. I'm just saying, I was first, though. I was first." So there are three of us. When we think about women, when we think about Black, Indigenous, and other people of color,
Mhm.
putting in that word positive is really important because we know the negative connotations, especially in the workplace, that happens to us. And so that's an and see, I told you I don't get along with I don't like a lot of people, but when they think, I'm seeing the positive, the T in things. But the other part of that is you are always providing actionable steps, and that's what
Mhm.
we have these conferences for women. We feel hype, we feel good, and then you leave like, okay, what do I do? There's like
Right.
affirmations. I was like, yeah, but faith without works is dead. So what do we do? And so when you are in a Lisa Anderson conversation, when you're in a Lisa Anderson training webinar, guess what you get? A is not just for Anderson, it's for action. So
Yes, I love it. So yes, you got to take action. You have to have some movement. And sometimes we get overwhelmed because the movement may be so big. And
exactly.
I encourage people break it down into baby steps. And if
Exactly.
you can do a baby step, that's movement. At least it's one step further than you were, before. But a lot of us get overwhelmed because we're looking so far down the road that it's like, wow, look at the big giant thing I have to get to. And that whole thing sometimes just overwhelms us, shuts us down, and then there's no movement because we're overwhelmed. So yes, action steps are very important, and small steps. They don't have to be conquering the entire thing in one movement. And so I
Absolutely.
strongly, strongly encourage that you break that thing down and let's get some baby steps in there and then celebrate the baby steps. That's the other thing. Sometimes we don't celebrate until we get to the end. No,
Exactly.
the journey is all about the celebrate the baby step that's going to take you to the next step. So we
A-
don't want to forget that.
Absolutely. I am horrible with cheering on at every step of the way. And being on a call, I was on a call with another business owner, and she was like, "Well, I only had 3 people sign up for this, and then out of the 3, only one showed up. She didn't even stay, but she bought." And I'm trying to figure. I said, "Hold up." So I
Oh,
ran back. I like let's run this back. Let's run this back. You didn't get 30 that you wanted. You got 3 out of 3, and when one showed and bought.
that's a
So
win.
exactly, a win is a win. A win is a win. I'm like TikTok. A win is a win. I need you. She was like, and so sometimes for us,
Hmm.
what we're downplaying or not really seeing as an accomplishment, we need to go tell a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old, like, "But that's a good job. Mommy did good," and really have somebody else give perspective on those wins.
Yes.
because we're looking for the milestone. And sometimes just making to the grocery store or ordering the groceries, right? It's the biggest thing for you is finding that time. You was like, yeah, but who gonna cook? Like
I
whatever. But the hardest part was finding the time to, and you have to say, you know what? Let me just have a glass of wine or something. Let me sit down and rest, and really taking those wins. So I love that. I love that. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I've experienced it personally. I've always been a goal achiever, and I used to be like, forget the baby steps. I can't celebrate until I check that box that it's done. And I had a coach tell me, like, whoa, let's back up a little bit, because look at all the things it took for you to even get that baby step. And
Exactly.
so let's not discount that.
Nope.
And really gave me a different perspective. Like, wow, how many times have I done that where my eyes on the prize way up ahead,
Mhm.
and all the juicy nuggets is the within the journey, within the baby steps. And I'm missing all of that looking way down the road. So
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, we're too action oriented and absolute in, product driven. And sometimes you gotta wait. Like you got in the hair bowl, hair ain't done yet, but you getting there. So I
right.
wanna I wanna bring us back to one other thing people may not know about you, which is you are also an author
Yeah.
and you released a book. So I want to talk about a bit about your book and then we'll get to the glass cliff.
Sure. So, my book came out in October of 2020. So during the pandemic, when I had the time where, when the world shut down and things slowed down, I finally had the time to finish a book that I had started writing like the year before. The name of it is Invisible Professional to Influential Leader. And it's a tip book for women leaders. And it was very therapeutic for me to write that book, because all of the experiences that I had coming up that corporate ladder, I wish I had a book that could have shared some things with me that I wasn't, number one, comfortable and talking to anyone inside the organization that I was working in at that time. And so this tip book is really about where at one point in my career I felt invisible. And for me in particular, it showed up for me in meetings where I felt invisible. And a lot of times I was the only woman in the room. And 9 times out of 10, I was the only person of color in the room. And I went through this experience in this phase where I was like, wow, I had something to contribute to that conversation, but yet I sat kind of silent. And so a lot of the tips in the book, um, the first of all, the book is an action book. Michelle, we just finished talking about action. So for each tip, there's an action and a reflection. So there's something for you to do around each tip. And it really is to sort of force you to sort of think about you and your experience, and where you are, and then to give you some nuggets of, okay, let's reflect upon it, but then what's the action? What are you going to do to go forward? So yeah, so I'm very proud of finally getting the book finished. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from it, because, of course, I share some stories in the book. And I've had people call me, "Did that really happen?" Yes, it did. I've taken out names to
Okay.
disguise people, but in the world of HR, it is never a dull moment.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I want to talk this year's theme for the virtual summit is a little bit different, but it is very, I think, timely for what we've seen since the murder of George Floyd, with so many women and black women getting jobs at mid management executive level. And so
Mhm,
this year's theme is talking really about women of color, specifically in STEM, because that's where we focus at Positive Hire. And Lisa, of course, has a crossover focus on women leaders.
mhm,
We're talking about from the glass cliff to the glass ceiling, breaking barriers and achieving leadership goals. And Le- and so when we talk about and think about navigating the glass cliff, Lisa's talk is focused on how to leave on your terms. Can
mhm.
you tell us why you decided to focus on that particular topic?
Sure. That topic stood out for me because couple things. Number one, and Michelle, I'm going to have to kind of define glass cliff in order to kind of
Yes.
talk through this. But with a glass cliff situation, well, let's talk about glass ceiling. Glass ceiling is when, a woman gets to a certain level in her career and it's hard to break through to get to that next level. For a lot of women of color, sometimes you hear it referred as concrete ceiling, because with a glass ceiling you can at least look through it. Sometimes concrete ceiling you can't even see on the other side of it. So that's glass ceiling. Then you have glass cliff, where you do get the opportunity to move into a higher position, but normally it's a challenging position with a high risk of failure. And sometimes, as women or women of color, we don't want to let opportunities pass us by because we may not get as many opportunities. So we may take that project or that challenge or that assignment to get that experience, but we're walking into kind of a glass cliff where there's going to be a lot of challenges there. So the reason why I picked the topic, how to leave on your own terms, because sometimes we find ourselves in a glass cliff situation, and sometimes we stay in that situation um, longer than we probably should, or
Or
we stay
stay
in it and it becomes detrimental to us personally. And that could be burnout, stress, our mental health. So when Michelle presented the topics, I was like, oh my goodness. I would love to do the topic on exiting and leaving on your own terms. But then how do you take that experience and use it as an opportunity to get your next experience? Because a lot of people, especially women, we're like, oh, we weren't successful in that glass cliff role. So now it's going to be hard for me to go and try for the next opportunity. So that is why this is like, whoo, yeah, I love to share some strategies around, okay, you've had this experience. How do you really story? We talk about your brand, storytelling. How do you flip this? Because now you're getting ready to go interview for the next opportunity. And believe it or not, even though it might not have been fun when you were in it, the glass clip role with all the challenges, you really need to be able to articulate what you got out of that. And it's not always failure. There's a lot of lessons learned that you would take from that experience to your next. And so we're going to talk about that next week on Tuesday.
I love it. 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
So the glass cliff can be looked at negatively, and it is not necessarily a good thing. But I think it's important as analytical women, women in highly male dominated areas, on
Hmm.
how to leverage it, how to survive if you fall over, or maybe not. Maybe you got to hook it and you climbing your way back up. It is really important that we take different perspectives on how to do this. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Denise. She's like, Michelle, this is what you need to be talking about when it comes to the glass cliff. And like literally, she jumped on a call for 20, 30 minutes with me. And I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And I gave her an outline of similar what I shared with you, Lisa, and some and the other
Mhm.
speakers. And this is where we are. Like literally somebody, and she's like 25, about 28 years into her career in tech and engineering.
Mhm.
And so she's seen a lot as well. So I really think this topic, even if you're still an individual contributor, maybe you still want to be a SME, like managing
Mhm.
people and advancing isn't where you want to go. But I think it is still it's still something that will help you in your career. So I have put into the chat where you can register for the Glass Cliff virtual summit. It is free if you watch it live, and then you have another 24 hours afterwards to catch us. And you definitely don't want to miss Lisa's because she is about that life. She is going to definitely share with you actionable things that you can do in your career right now. It starts on Sunday. Yes, Sunday.
Mhm.
And it's one speaker a night. So you don't have to I gotta carve it like 1 hour a night. And you can come join us over for the virtual summit. We would love to have you join us. And I'm speaking for Lisa right now. Lisa, anything else you want to say? Because you've done the virtual summit before. You've done some other things with Positive Hire as well. Anything else you want to add?
No, well, yes, one thing. So I strongly encourage you. What I love about the virtual summit is that the ladies they're all interactive. So, we do the presentation, but we also leave enough time. And Michelle and I are famous for going over our time limit because we will stay until we get all questions answered.
Yes,
So I, yeah, so I love that. That's what I love about the Positive Hire Summits because it really is about you coming and being able to interact, give us feedback, from the content that we're presenting, and really just being able to answer any questions or even help or elaborate. So I love that about the Women of Color in STEM Summit. So yes, hopefully we will see a lot of folks that will participate.
absolutely. And if you need a shorter link, you can go to bit.ly/Glass Cliff Summit. Yes, Glass Cliff Summit. So, yes, we stay on. Most of our speakers stay on and we try to answer most of the questions. Some of you will navigate it. I generally don't say your names during the recording to
Mhm.
have privacy. And so we will work through that if you want to join and have questions. If you want to join earlier, if you want to join, not earlier, but if you want to come every night, or if you're like, hey, I can't remember, you have about 24 hours, a little bit more than 24, but at least 24 hours to catch the replay. So,
Mhm.
everybody, you got the links, you know where to go, you know where to show up. We are excited to have you, and we will see you on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, up until Friday. So many. Do y'all want to know? Do y'all really want to know what the other topics are? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do what I know. I forgot. I guess that's a good thing to share. Okay, so how to choose the right manager for you. Oftentimes, when we're interviewing for jobs into a new organization, we aren't asking the right questions. Like we're like, oh, I got a new opportunity. I need to show up shiny, brilliant, and absolute the best. No, guess what? They need to show up shiny, bright, and absolutely the best to get you. You are the prize. So it's really important to go in and understand the questions to be asking and how to assess an organization because it may be a great opportunity, but now you have a manager that is setting you up to fail. And so,
Mm.
what are the things you need to be asking for, and how do you pre plan going into an organization, pretty much knowing it's a glass cliff and it's not maybe the manager that is hiring you that you'll be reporting to has a different style. And so, we have Giselle Benazula, who is a software engineering manager at Mailchimp. She's been in tech 25 years. Is going to be talking about this on Sunday. Then on Monday we have creating your strategy to navigate the glass cliff. You know, broke through the ceiling. Now you're walking on the glass ceiling, and it ain't going too well. So how best can you navigate it? We have Ebony Travis. She is an HR at Boston Scientific. She's the director of global well-being and HR employee policies. She's done many roles at Boston Scientific. She's been there over 20 years, so you definitely want to check us out. Y'all know who we got on Tuesday. Y'all don't know? We have Mrs. Lisa Anderson, HR executive coach. She is going to be talking about navigating the glass cliff to leave on your terms. Then we have my girl, and y'all like, hold up. In my head, she's Afro Latina, Dominican born and raised. She's a civil engineer. She's a licensed professional engineer. Her name is Gladys Felix. She's going to be talking about a little bit different what happens when you can't get that job,
Mm,
right? And you're like,
mhm,
what? Yeah. And so she is going to be talking about breaking barriers, an Afro Hispanic woman's journey to the top. And it's a different viewpoint. And oftentimes during recessions and layoffs, it takes Black women especially longer to get jobs. So what do you do in between that time? And so she'll be talking about that. I'll be coming in on Thursday, February 23rd. How about embracing the glass cliff, turning a challenge into an opportunity?
mhm.
You know they're trying to set you up. You know what it is, but how do you take that opportunity, that negative, and make it a positive? So I'll be talking about that. And then on Friday, I get asked these questions. So I know you, Lisa, I do career coaching. I do some business coaching too, but I do it
Mhm.
in a very niche specific way. And so somebody literally DM'd me while I was planning out the virtual summit, and it was like, how do I escape the corporate jungle to start my own business?
Mm,
I know. So I added this on the back end on a Friday session. It's real chill. Y'all come hang out. I know I have it on Zoom webinar. I may switch it to meetings so y'all can ask more questions. But it's called the Corporate Jungle Escape Plan.
mm,
How you get out and how I found success as a woman of color business owner. And so really talking about what are some struggles, what are some things I would have done differently, because I definitely would have done some things differently. And what do I advise other women? And so we'll go through some 5 things that I have you probably want to do before you get started. And you jump ship, or if you've already jumped ship and you're trying to wade your way through the waters, let's talk about, or the jungle, and see what that's about. And so we'll have that conversation on Friday. I added as a Friday session because knew it wasn't going to be a lot of women, but it's an opportunity for you to still ask your questions and we can talk about it. So love it. And I'm really excited to have y'all join. All right, Lisa, we ready?
we're ready.
All right, we will see you on Sunday, February 19th at 7 p.m. Everybody have a great week and we'll see you soon.
Bye.